Investing in a tax-free savings account is the first step to be a smart investor in South Africa. If you can max out your tax-free savings account, which means investing 36,000 Rand a year up to your 500,000 Rand lifetime limit, that could grow to more than 40 million Rand over 40 years' time. But you have to be smart about this. So in this video, I'm going to discuss 6 mistakes that I see people make so that you can be sure to avoid these mistakes and get maximum growth in a tax-free way. First and most common mistake I see with tax-free savings account is saving it and not investing it. Don't confuse the term tax-free savings thinking you can only use the account to save and earn interest. You can actually use the account to invest. That would mean you open up the account and within the money that you deposit into that account, you're allowed to buy or make investments. So you can buy ETFs, low-cost, globally diversified ETFs, which if you've watched my videos, you would probably know what those are by now. And yes, making smart investments in your tax-free savings account, especially if you're holding it for the long term, is crucial because this is one place that you can get growth that is not taxed. So why would you not do it in this account? Here's the quick chart to show you at different assumptions or return rates. What could the potential value on your TFSA be in 40 years' time? If you're just earning interest at, let's say, an 8% annual average, which is quite high, I'm not sure if you will actually be able to get that for 40 years, and you max out your annual contributions up to your 500,000 Rand lifetime limits, then that could be worth 6.6 million in 40 years' time. What if you have rather invested that and let's assume a 12% return? The value could be as much as 23 million in 40 years' time. With a return of 14%, the value could be more than 40 million in 40 years' time. That's a huge difference. Yes, the stock market is volatile and we can't use historic performance to make forecasts on future performance, but I wouldn't even say that a 14% return is that unrealistic. If we have a look at the returns on this MSCI World Index ETF, over the last 10 years, the total return was 14.6%. That's the average annualized return. The since inception returns are 13.1%. And the inception date of this ETF was April 2008, which is just a few months before one of the worst stock market crashes in history. So I believe that influences this since inception return a bit, but it's still not a bad return. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, then this is the right time. Click the subscribe button so that you can see more of my videos and that you can know when I publish more videos that will help you be a smart investor. Also, my Instagram channel has taken off a bit in the last few months. Definitely follow along on Instagram if you're a user because I post more regular live updates there. The second mistake is paying high fees. If you're using an advisor which then puts you into a high fee fund, all-in fees could add up to more than 2 or 3%, which is extremely high. This chart is a quick example to show you exactly how bad it is. This chart makes it very clear that the contributions are limited up to 500,000, but the growth on the investment has no limit. And if you could hold this for 40 years at a 10% return, it could grow to more than 12 million, which means more than 11 million is due to compounding and reinvestment because your contributions were limited to 500,000. What happens if you add just a 1.5% fee could mean 4.5 million less over a 40-year timeline. So that 1.5% means that you lose out on more than 4 million of growth on your investment value. That's an insane cost. Definitely not just a 1.5% fee. The next mistake I see is withdrawing early. Yes, your tax-free savings account is accessible to you, but I would really be careful about withdrawing any money from your tax-free savings account. Once you've made a contribution into any tax-free savings account, that counts towards your lifetime limit. It's almost like a high water mark. Even if you take money out, you have contributed towards your limits and you can only put in 500,000 Rand over your lifetime. So taking money out means missing out on potential tax-free growth. The next mistake is not getting international diversification. You would have definitely seen this in my previous videos. I talk about this all the time, that it's so important to think like an international investor and not only invest in the local stock market. Global ETFs have never made it easier to be an international stock market investor. You don't have to be super wealthy. You don't have to be a finance whiz. and you can be a smart stock market investor. South Africa represents less than 2% of the value of the global stock market. Investing mainly in the South African stock market is really concentrating your risk on a small portion of the global stock market. Please be smart and invest further than South Africa. The next mistake is not transferring your tax-free savings account in the correct way. So, good news, yes, it is possible to transfer your tax-free savings account if it's currently invested with a high fee provider, or if the provider that you're currently using doesn't give you good options on the underlying investments and they don't offer you low-cost ETFs, for example. You can transfer your tax-free savings account to a different provider, but you have to make sure that it's a transfer and that you don't withdraw it. Because if you withdraw it into your account, then you are going to lose the contribution limits that you've already contributed towards, which I mentioned in one of the previous mistakes. So please make sure if you transfer it, it never touches your bank account. You won't be withdrawing it. It will be transferred directly from one provider to another. The last mistake is not being smart about a tax-free savings account for kids. Getting your kids started as soon as possible on the investing journey is essential. You can literally add 20 years of compounding to their wealth building journey. That is an insane gift, and honestly something I wish my parents did for me, but also something that can completely change their life. But is it smart to use your kids' tax-free savings accounts for their education costs? In my opinion, that's not very smart. If you use your kids' tax-free savings account lifetime limit contributions up, that would mean they can't make contributions once they start earning money and once they want to start investing. So my philosophy around this is really to only put money into your kids' tax-free savings account that is intended to stay there for longer than 30 years. If you want to make provisions for their education, rather do this outside their tax-free savings accounts. So yes, it is possible to have a tax-free savings account for your kid. I think it is an extremely smart thing to get started on, even if you can only start with small amounts. They only need an ID number. They don't need a tax number. And if your provider is telling you it's not possible, find one that offers child-friendly solutions. Here are 2 charts that shows you the potential for your child if you start maxing out their tax-free savings account as early as possible. If they can earn a 14% return for a 60-year period, that could mean more than 500 million rand. Yes, this sounds a little bit too good to be true because a lot of this value is due to inflation, right? And by the time that they are 60 years old, everything is going to be so much more expensive. So if we want to discount this and see what it actually looks like in real terms today, 500 million rand in 60 years' time, discounted at a 5% annual assumed inflation, could be compared to 31 million rand, as in today's terms, which is really not bad. And 224 million in 60 years' time discounted at inflation would mean 12 million in today's terms. So the tax-free savings account is amazing for kids, but it should be used responsibly because everything that you put into their account in their name counts towards their lifetime contribution limits. If you're going to max that out before they reach the age or if they reach the income that they are able to contribute towards it, then you need to make sure that it's used responsibly, please. If you want to learn more about how you can be smart with your tax-free savings account, I've got a great course that will teach you exactly how. It covers everything that you need to know. It shows you how to avoid the mistakes, and it shows you how you can identify investments and also which providers you could potentially consider. There is also a special section on tax-free savings accounts for kids due to popular demand. I also include a step-by-step demo video which shows you exactly how you can do it yourself. The link to join the course is in the description of this video. You might also be asking, but what if I want to invest more than 36,000 Rand a year? Of course, you shouldn't be limiting your investments only to 36,000 Rand a year. The rough guideline is to invest at least 20% of your income annually. So if that means more than 36,000 Rand a year, you need to start thinking about how you can be smart about your investments outside your tax-free savings account. Luckily, I've got you covered because I've got an amazing 5-week course that I've run for the first time earlier this year, and it was such a massive success that I now can proudly tell you that it would be so worth your time and so worth your money. I'm currently running a waiting list for that course again, but I will run the course within the next few weeks. So if you join the waiting list, it's linked in the description, you will be notified and you will be the first one to know when the course goes live again. I am so sure that it would be very valuable to you. Join the waiting list if you want to be part of the next cohort that completes the most comprehensive Invest with Confidence course. As always, I would very much appreciate any inputs or any recommendations for videos. Please leave them in the comments. See you next time.